Hear me, O Queen, Zeus's daughter of many names, Titanic and Bacchic, revered, renowned archer, torch-bearing goddess, bringing light to all. Dictyana, helper at childbirth, you help women in labor, though you know not what labor is. O frenzied, loving huntress, you loosen girdles and drive distress away. Swift arrow, pouring goddess of the outdoors, you roam in the night. Fame-bringing and affable, redeeming and masculine in appearance. Orthia, goddess of swift birth, you are a nurturer of mortal youths, immortal and yet of this earth. You slay wild beasts. O blessed one, your realm is in the mountain forest. You hunt deer. O revered and mighty queen of all, fair-blossomed, eternal, sylvan, dog-loving, many-shaped lady of Kydonia. Come, dear goddess, as savior to all the initiates, accessible to all, bringing forth the beautiful fruit of the earth, lovely peace, and fair-tressed health. May you dispatch diseases and pain to the peaks of the mountains. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Welcome everyone to tonight's celebration of the Invocation of Art, the Path of Samekh, and the Spirit of Sagittarius. The sun is entering Sagittarius as we speak, and a perfect time to invoke these energies. We are doing this remote as a ritual for Horizon Lodge OTO in Seattle, Washington. So we have started up occasional events. If you are interested in those, please reach out to us. We have a temple in Lower Magnolia, just north of downtown Seattle. So we're doing monthly mass, and we do also have some classes coming up. So tonight we'll be following the usual format. There will be some readings related to Sagittarius, and then we will go into the chanting and drumming. For those of you who are new to this, there are other videos in this series. We are working our way through the zodiacal signs and cards of the tarot, and working with a particular thelemic text that involves sigils and spirit names. And we're using those sigils and spirit names to invoke the energies of this tarot card, or the spirit of this tarot card. So we will be chanting, and there will be some drumming for about 11 minutes. Then we'll stop, and there'll be a silent period. And that's a time for you to scry. How scrying is generally interpreted as you can, what I recommend is you close your eyes and sort of just look deeply into yourself and see what is there. Hopefully the idea being that we've invoked these energies and they should be present and you can interact with them. Some people like to use visual scrying tools like a crystal ball or those sorts of things. I have more luck just looking, closing my eyes and sort of seeing it in the same place you might see dreams. But other things can happen. You might see things, you might hear things. Additionally, you might just have notions. Like you might have notions related to Sagittarius or to the card or to the symbolism that we've discussed. So just make note of those and sort of think about them afterwards. So, as always, we appreciate any donations. There's a link to our PayPal donation below the video, and all donations go to maintaining our temple space, so we greatly appreciate that. The COVID times have been very hard for us, so any donations are greatly appreciated. We will be doing some fundraisers coming up, so watch out for those. And yeah. And yeah, shout out to anybody. Give a shout out in the chat if you want. I see Mary and Kate and DR, so nice to have you with us. So without further ado, we will get into the reading. Oh, also, tonight, the spirit name is kind of a longer one. It's so it's the Path of Samekh, so it begins with S. And I've interpreted it as, so the name given in the text is on the top line, and the pronunciation that I've interpreted is on the bottom, and what we're going with tonight, which is Salathla la Amrod na Thoist. Salathla la Amrod na Thoist. So, and you'll hear that in the chanting, so just follow along with that. All right, without further ado, we will get into the reading. Thou must have the poisoned arrows of the archer. And a mighty angel appeared as a woman, pouring vials of woe upon the flames, lighting the pure stream with her brand of cursing, and the iniquity was very great. See here, ATU XIV, Art, the daughter of reconcilers, the bringer forth of life, formerly called Temperance in the older decks. We see in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck in the upper right, there are irises present on the card, and you'll see these transferred over to the new card in the rainbows in the background. Iris just being Greek for rainbow. She is the reconciler below, as between the lion and eagle. She is the pregnant womb, preserving life. This card pertains to Sagittarius, which means the archer, and the card is, in its simplest and most primitive form, a picture of Diana, the huntress. Diana is primarily one of the lunar goddesses, though the Romans rather degraded her from the Greek Virgin Artemis, who is also the great mother of fertility, Diana of Ephesians, many-breasted, a form of Isis. Also see ATUs 2 and 3 for other forms. The connection between the moon and the huntress is shown in the shape of a bow, and the occult significance of Sagittarius is the arrow piercing the rainbow. The last three paths of the Tree of Life, Kof, Shin, and Tav, make the word Quishet, a rainbow, and Sagittarius bears the arrow which pierces the rainbow, for his path leads from the moon of Yesod to the sun of Tiphereth. We also see present in this diagram a relation to the card. So the many breasts of our Diana are arrayed in the shape of the 6 Sephirot of the Ruach, which we are piercing into. The card is the complement and fulfillment of ATU 6, Gemini, the lovers. It pertains to Sagittarius, the opposite of Gemini in the zodiac, and therefore, after another manner, one with it. This card represents the consummation of the royal marriage which took place in ATU 6. The black and white personages are now united in a single androgen figure. Even the bees and serpents on their robes have made an alliance. The red lion has become white and increased in size and importance, while the white eagle, similarly expanded, has become red. He has exchanged his blood for her white gluten. The equilibrium and counterchange are carried out completely in the figure itself. The white woman now has a black head. The black king, a white one. She bears the golden crown with a silver band. He, the silver crown with a golden fillet. But the white head on the right is extended in action by a white arm on the left, which holds the cup of the white gluten, while the black head on the left has the black arm on the right, holding the lance, which has become a torch and pours forth its burning blood. The fire burns up the water extinguishes the fire. The robe of the figure is green, which symbolizes vegetable growth. This is an alchemical allegory. In the symbolism of the fathers of science, all actual objects were regarded as dead. The difficulty of transmuting metals was that the metals, as they occur in nature, were in the nature of excrements, because they did not grow. The first problem of alchemy was to raise the mineral to vegetable life. The adepts thought that the proper way to do this was to imitate the process of nature. Distillation, for instance, was not an operation to be performed by heating something in a retort over a flame. It had to take place naturally, even if months were required to consummate the work. Months, at that period of civilization, according to Crowley, were at the disposal of inquiring minds. A great deal of what people now consider ignorance, being themselves ignorant of what the men of old time thought, comes from this misapprehension. At the bottom of this card, for example, are seen fire and water harmoniously mingled, but this is only a crude symbol of the spiritual idea, which is the satisfaction of the desire of incomplete element of one kind to satisfy its formula by assimilation of its equal and opposite. The state of the great work, therefore, consisted in the mingling of the contradictory elements in a cauldron. This is here represented as golden or solar, because the sun is the father of all life, and in particular presides over distillation. The fertility of earth is maintained by rain and sun. The rain is formed by a slow and gentle process, and is rendered effective by the cooperation of air, which is itself alchemically the result of the marriage of fire and water. So also the formula of continued life is death or putrefaction. Here it is symbolized by the caput mortuum, or skull, on the cauldron, a raven perched upon a skull. In agricultural terms, this is the fallow earth. There is a particular interpretation of this card which is only to be understood by initiates of the 9th degree of the OTO, for it contains a practical magical formula of such importance as to make it impossible to communicate it openly. Rising from the cauldron as a result of the operation performed therein is a stream of light which becomes two rainbows. They form the cape of the androgyne figure. In the center, an arrow shoots upwards. This is connected with the general symbolism previously explained, the spiritualization of the result of the great work. The rainbow is, moreover, symbolical of another stage of the alchemical process. At a certain period, as a result of putrefaction, there is observed a phenomenon of many-colored lights. The coat of many colors, said to have been worn by Joseph and Jesus in the ancient legends, refers to this. See also ATU XIV, the Fool, the motley of the Green Man, the Dreamer Redeemer. To sum up, the whole of this card represents the hidden content of the egg described in ATU XIV, the Lover's card, seen at the bottom of the card. It is the same formula, but in a more advanced stage. The original duality has been completely compensated, but after birth comes growth, after growth, puberty, and after puberty, putrefaction. In this card, therefore, is foreshadowed the final stage of the great work. Behind the figure, its edges tinged with the rainbow, which now has arisen from the twin rainbows forming the cape of the figure, is a glory bearing an inscription: Visita interiora terre rectificando in vines occultum lapidum, or visit the interior parts of the earth. By rectification thou shalt find the hidden stone. Its initials make the word vitriol, the universal solvent, to be discussed later. This hidden stone is also called the universal medicine. It is sometimes described as a stone, sometimes as a powder, sometimes as a tincture. It divides again in two forms, the gold and the silver, the red and the white, but its essence is always the same, and its nature is not to be understood except by experience. In the Sefer Yetzirah, this path is called the experimental intelligence, or intelligence of probation or temptation. It is called this because it is the original temptation through which God tests all righteous persons. The Hebrew word nisyoni can also be translated as experiment, experience, to try or to attempt, and thus indicates a mode of consciousness wherein experience becomes the test of ideas. It is the kind of consciousness which puts theory to the test of practical application, which makes experiments to verify hypotheses, which does laboratory work. All such work consists in the examination and modification of various modes of spiritual work. It is because the alchemists were dealing with substances on the border of matter that they are so difficult to understand. The subject matter of chemistry and physics in modern times is what they would have called the study of dead things, for the real difference between living and dead is, in the first instance, their behavior. This medicine, previously mentioned, and its relation to the gold and silver cups, is recalled in Brother Worth's essay on this card. The 14th key of the tarot shows us this vital fluid, poured from a silver urn into a golden urn by temperance, which becomes the angel of universal life. Amphora of precious metals do not correspond to coarse body envelopes. Rather, they allude to the double psychic auras of which the material organism is only the terrestrial ballast. Of these concentric ambiances, one, the closest, is solar and active, also called consciousness and reason. It directs the individual to an immediate way and maintains his voluntary energy or willpower. The other extends beyond the first. It is lunar and sensitive. Its domain is more mysterious. It is that of sentimentality, of vague impressions, imagination, and the higher order unconscious. This ethereal sphere captures the vibrations of the life common to individuals of the same species, permanent life, which is the reservoir from which we draw the vitality that we individualize. What is concentrated in the silver urn flows into the golden urn, where the condensation is completed for the maintenance of physical life. The mystery of the two urns dominates all therapeutic thaumaturgy, whose miracles are accomplished with the aid of the universal fluid. Beginners of the art of healing usually have an overflowing golden urn. They then transmit their personal fluid to others and practice curative magnetism by controlling the vital currents. If the silver urn is not revealed to them, they remain apprentice healers, incapable of continuous action and more widely effectiveness. The true miracle, which is within the reach of any fundamentally generous, pure soul, depends on the extension of our sentimental sphere. Let us sympathize with all our being to the suffering of others. Then externalize our affection in order to constitute for ourselves an atmosphere of love as vast as possible. We will thus benefit from an animated refractive medium suitable for collecting the most ethereal vibratory waves, by means of which the true medicine of the saints and sages is practiced. This practice of distilling the ethereal could be seen as our own particular scrying practice that we do. The spiritual technique associated with this by Crowley is called scrying in the spirit vision, or the ladder of Jacob. And he says that you can cultivate it by doing the practices in Liber O. The initials of the alchemical motto, given above, form the word vitriol. This has nothing to do with the sulfates of either hydrogen, iron, or copper, as might be supposed from modern usage. It represents a balanced combination of three alchemical principles: sulfur, mercury, and salt. These names have no connection with the substances so named by the vulgar, and they have already been described in ATUs 1, 3, and 4, or the Magus, the Empress, and the Emperor. The counsel to visit the interior of the earth is a recapitulation on a higher plane of the first formula of the work, which has been the so constant theme of these essays. The important word in the injunction is the central word rectificando. It implies the right leading of the new living substance in the path of the true will. The stone of the philosophers, the universal medicine, is to be a talisman of use in any event, a completely elastic and completely rigid vehicle of the true will of the alchemists. It is to fertilize and bring to manifested life the Orphic egg. The arrow, both in this card and ATU 6, is of supreme importance. The arrow is, in fact, the simplest and purest glyph of Mercury, being a symbol of directed will. In ATU 6, this arrow is found in the quiver of Cupid, and also in the bow and hand of Cupid. On the quiver of Cupid in that card is inscribed the word thelema, which is the word of the law. His shafts are quanta of will, as the arrow is particularly a symbol of direction. He carries a bow and arrow in a golden quiver. He has golden wings and is blindfolded. From this it may appear that he represents the intelligent and at the same time unconscious will of the soul to unite itself with all and sundry, as has been explained in the general formula with regard to the agony of separateness. His arrow represents the spiritual intelligence necessary in alchemical operations, rather than the mere hunger to perform them. From the secret instruction of the Master, pour thine all freely from the vase in thy right hand, and lose no drop. Hath not thy left hand a vase? Transmute all wholly into the image of thy will, bringing each to its true token of perfection. Dissolve the pearl in the wine cup, drink, and make manifest the virtue of that pearl. and thou must have the poisoned arrows of the archer. And a mighty angel appeared as a woman, pouring vials of woe upon the flames, lighting the pure stream with her brand of cursing. And the iniquity was very great.
Amro Amro Natho East, Salath Lala, 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 la, road north or east, south 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 la, road north or east. Salat la la, Amrod Nathoist. 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 Salathlala, Amro 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 Nathoist.
Okay, everybody, if you need a few more minutes, please pause the video now. For everyone else, come back to your bodies, sort of come back from the astral plane, regain awareness of your senses, and open your eyes. Thank you for being with us tonight, everyone. I see Mr. Padrick said 93 in the chat. Yeah, so 93 to everybody who is with us. We will eventually make our way through this pandemic. At the moment, we still require masks at OTO events, which makes for not so nice chanting experiences. And also, many of us do still feel a bit of anxiety around chanting in a room full of people we may or may not know, even though we do require vaccination cards. The hospitalization rates and infection rates are still pretty high, so we're still doing this virtually. But thanks for everybody who showed up tonight. Next month we will be back with the winter solstice and the celebration of the invocation of Capricorn, the devil, ATU XIV. So that should be a fun one. Yeah. So again, there's a PayPal link at the bottom of the page, and then make sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when our next events are going to be happening online. So, thanks everybody, and I will see you again next month. 93.